New segment. Watching Democracy Now. That's not going to happen. He owns Twitter. He's mad about, like, Babylon Bee. He's mad about Babylon Bee getting banned from Twitter for, I think, dead naming somebody. Is that what they did? I can't remember, dude. So we're going to get more of that. He's just mad about bots. Elon Musk is mad about bots. He's going to find a way to minimize bots. That might improve. We might get an edit button. That might improve. It'll be harder. I don't know. And he might bring Trump back, and a lot of people will cheer him on for that. I think it'll be funny, but no, it's sort of gonna get worse, isn't it? In some ways, better in others, but not in a super great way. At the same time, it's transferring ownership from one billionaire to another. All right, those are my immediate thoughts on this.
Of free press, and for the first time,
thank you, Soluble Apollo, for your prime sub in your 10 months. Love your face.
in a studio. All that and more.
Happy birthday. Folks, it's my birthday, I guess. Did you bring me cake? Thank you.
Welcome to Democracy Now!,
democracynow.org,
The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres travels to Moscow today to meet at the Kremlin with Russia's foreign minister and its president, Vladimir Putin. His trip comes as the UN struggles to bring humanitarian relief to civilians trapped by Russia's assault on eastern Ukraine. Guterres will again press Russian and Ukrainian troops to silence their guns after his previous calls for a ceasefire went unheeded. After the Secretary General's visit to Moscow, Russia's
UN calls for a ceasefire. That's rich.
deputy ambassador to the United Nations said a truce was unlikely.
So we don't think that ceasefire is a good option right now, because the only advantage it will give possibility for Ukrainian forces to regroup.
Moldova's president has convened an emergency meeting of her.
He's like, I don't think ending the war is going to be good for Russia because we decided to enter it. That's pretty much what he said.
Nation's Supreme Security Council after a series of explosions rocked a region near Ukraine's southern border that's home to a pro-Russia separatist movement. Early this morning, twin explosions destroyed a Soviet-era radio tower that was used to broadcast Russian programs across Moldova. Elsewhere, unknown assailants fired grenades at a state security building in the provincial Moldovan capital of Transnistria.
Where's she getting this information?
The region in eastern Moldova is home to pro-Russia separatists, and Russian troops have been permanently based there since the collapse of the Soviet Union. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's visiting Germany's Ramstein air base today, joining officials
Du hast mich.
From more than 40 countries for U.S.-hosted talks on providing military support to Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov responded by accusing NATO of fighting a proxy war against Russia. On Monday, 3 NATO warships arrived at a port in southwestern Finland, less than 200 miles from Russia's border. Sweden and Finland have reportedly agreed to submit simultaneous membership applications to join NATO as early as the middle of next month.
Hey guys. Bing bong.
In Norway, police arrested 20 protesters Monday after they blocked a massive...
They're adding NATO troops closer to Russia's border. Okay.
shipment of Russian oil from reaching shore. Members of Greenpeace held signs reading "Oil Fuels War" as they chain themselves to the anchor chain of the massive Ust-Luga oil tanker, which was waiting to offload nearly 100,000 metric tons of fuel to a terminal operated by ExxonMobil. This is Frode Plem, head of Greenpeace Norway.
This oil tanker is fully loaded with Russian oil, bonded for the Esso terminal ashore here in Norway. Greenpeace is demanding from Esso and the Norwegian government to ensure that this Russian oil is not imported to Norway. It fuels Putin's war in Ukraine. It's wrong.
In more climate news, about 4,000 protesters rallied in the village of Lützerath in western Germany over the weekend, seeking to halt the expansion of a massive open-pit coal mine. The village is set to be demolished to make way for the nearby Garzweiler mine, which produces brown coal or lignite, one of the world's dirtiest fossil fuels. The world's richest man, Elon...
What the fuck, dude? That boggles the mind to see pictures like this. It would be like infuriating if someone did this in Minecraft, but they're like doing it in the real world, you know? This is like, hello? What was that? Ligma coal?
One of the world's dirtiest fossil fuels. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, is set to become the new owner of Twitter after the company's board agreed to sell the influential social media platform for...
You can't believe it. Twitter's come such a long way since Gandhi founded it.
$44 billion. The deal is expected to close later this year, pending regulatory approval. The watchdog group Media Matters criticized Musk's takeover of Twitter, saying it'll be a, quote, victory for disinformation and the people who peddle it, unquote. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki said President Biden was concerned about Musk's takeover.
No matter who owns or runs Twitter, the president has long been concerned about the power. Large social media platforms, the power they have over our everyday lives, has long argued that tech platforms must be held accountable for the harms they cause. He has been a strong supporter of fundamental reforms to achieve that goal, including reforms to Section 230, enacting antitrust reforms, requiring more transparency, and more.
We'll have more on Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter later in the broadcast. We'll speak with the...
All right, so do y'all have any takes on the takeover while we're here?
First employee of the company that created Twitter, as well as Jessica Gonzalez of Free Press. Nicaragua was withdrawn from the Organization of American States and has expelled OAS representatives from the country. The OAS says the move is a, quote, violation of the most basic international norms and that Nicaragua cannot leave the organization until 2023.
Missed that whole thing. What about Nicaragua?
Company that created Twitter, as well as Jessica Gonzalez of Free Press. Nicaragua was withdrawn from the Organization of American States and has expelled OAS representatives from the country. The OAS says the move is a, quote, violation of the most basic international norms and that Nicaragua cannot leave the organization until 2023.
International norms? Like which ones? I think they're telling on themselves when they say that international norms.
Nicaragua has long accused the OAS of being a tool for U.S. intervention. This is Nicaragua's foreign minister.
We ratify our unwavering decision to leave the Organization of American States, as expressed on November 19, 2021. And by confirming our irrevocable denunciation and resignation before this calamitous, truculent, and lying dependency of the State Department of Yankee imperialism.
El Salvador has extended a state of emergency.
Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? That is so based.
That was imposed a month ago by another 30 days, despite reports of serious human rights violations. The crackdown was enacted due to rising homicides attributed to gangs. The order suspends freedom of assembly, weakens due process rights for those arrested, extends the time people can be held without charge. The Salvadoran president, Nayib Bukele, says over 18,000 accused gang members have been detained. Residents of the capital, San Salvador, say everyone is being targeted.
Yeah, we got an Ambiguibot raid. YouTube audience, you missed that and the little pause there. Make sure you follow Ambiguibot. We had a nice chat right here on my own stream. It's going to be right here on the YouTube in the coming days. Otherwise, support on Patreon. You'll get it tonight.
The people are being affected. Not only the bad guys, but also good people. Children are being frisked. And I think this means rights violations.
They arrest anyone. They arrest people because of the way they dress or their hairstyle. It's a matter of luck. They have even detained elderly people.
A federal judge in Louisiana has temporarily blocked the Biden administration from ending Title 42, a Trump-era policy that's allowed the U.S. government to expel asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border without due process. The Biden administration planned to end Title 42 by next month, facing backlash from both Republicans and Democrats. Since Title 42 was first invoked in March 2020, over 1.7 million asylum seekers have been expelled from the U.S. and returned to places where they face kidnapping, torture, sexual assault, or threats to their lives. Chinese authorities have ordered 3.5 million residents of Beijing's most populous district to undergo mass testing for COVID-19. The order set off a run on grocery stores as residents fear they may soon suffer the same fate as Shanghai, where some 25 million people have been shut in their homes for weeks. Another 30 million people in Chinese cities outside Shanghai and Beijing also remain on lockdown. China recently reported its highest rates of community spread since the start of the pandemic as it struggles to enforce its zero COVID strategy. In Hong Kong, What
was that framing? What was that framing? How would you describe that framing, chat? Circling back to Nicaragua, their politics and the current government is pretty interesting. Syncretic. I don't even know this word. But apparently not just to advance third-way parties, but to instead have a broad anti-imperial left-right coalition. That is interesting. The framing is China's insane. The framing is China bad. The framing is having a COVID strategy is bad. The framing is China bad, brother. China bad. I heard they done bad things in the places with the peoples. You can't trust them. That's why I vote for my guys over here in America. Those Democrats, Republicans, they're all the same.
The Foreign Correspondents Club has postponed its annual Human Rights Journalism Awards over concerns the event could violate a sweeping national security law imposed by Chinese authorities in Beijing. Washington Post correspondent Shabani Matani resigned from the Correspondent Club's Press Freedom Committee in protest. She told the Financial Times, quote, "It's emblematic of the self-censorship many institutions feel forced to subject themselves to in today's Hong Kong, and entirely indicative of how the national security law has changed the landscape for all," unquote. In Turkey, a court has sentenced businessman and civil society leader Osman Kavala to life in prison without the possibility of parole in a decision condemned by human rights groups. 7 co-defendants each received 18-year prison terms. Kavala has been jailed in pretrial detention since 2017 after he was arrested on charges related to the 2013 Gezi Park protests. He was also accused of organizing a failed coup against President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's government in 2016. Kavala's supporters gathered outside a courthouse in Istanbul Monday as his life sentence was handed down.
I'm not keeping up with this story.
If this was a lawful decision, we would be able to comment on it, but it is not. This is the culmination of the government's revenge against the Gezi Park protesters. This is the execution of orders coming from the Turkish president.
Amnesty International condemned the harsh sentences for Kavala and his co-defendants. The group said in a statement, quote, "Today we've witnessed a travesty of justice of spectacular proportions. This verdict deals a devastating blow not only to Osman Kavala, his co-defendants and their families, but to everyone who believes in justice and human rights activism in Turkey and beyond," Amnesty International said. A New York judge has found Donald Trump in civil contempt of court for failing to fully comply with a subpoena from Attorney General Letitia James asking for records on the Trump Organization's business dealings. The court ordered Trump to pay $10,000.
I love it, but the sad part is the libs are going to lap this up, right? They love Letitia James. She does pretty good work, right? She's not the worst. But gosh, all right, and then what? She runs for governor, Senate. I don't know. Just thinking out loud here. Yeah. You're sure this will matter and not be ignored? Is that a kappa? Are you kappaing?
$1,000 each day he fails to turn over the records. Trump's lawyers have promised to appeal the order. New York State Attorney General James has been investigating whether the Trump Organization inflated the values of its properties to obtain loans and then reduce them to evade taxes.
Probably.
A new study finds prosecutions of corporate criminals have hit a record low under President Joe Biden, worsening a trend that...
He's better than Biden? Like, in what way?
saw corporate immunity set
got a lot of weird takes, Addie.
Records under President Trump. Public Citizen reports the number of corporate prosecutions in fiscal year 2021 dropped to just 90, or less than half the average rate over the previous quarter century. Meanwhile, human rights and environmental lawyer Steve Donziger has just been released from nearly 1,000 days of house arrest. Donziger's legal ordeal began after he successfully sued Chevron on behalf of 30,000 Ecuadorian Amazonian indigenous people for dumping 16 billion gallons of oil into their ancestral land. We'll speak with Stephen Donziger later in the broadcast. And the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals has granted a stay of execution for Melissa Lucio and ordered a lower court to consider new evidence of Lucio's innocence in the death of her 2-year-old daughter, Mariah. Lucio was scheduled to die Wednesday. Now she may get a new trial. Her attorneys say Lucio, who's a survivor of a lifetime of abuse, was pressured to make a false confession and did not get a fair trial. On Monday, the Texas Tribune...
It won't be funny. We're talking about Trump. I was saying if he got elected, it would be funny. I'm just saying he says funny things. I don't think the whole thing will be funny. He's corrupt. He's a compulsive liar, brainwashing the weak-minded with fear-based bullshit, enabling people's worst angels is not very, very funny. But that's the same as Biden. You just described Biden. It's the same thing. They're just using different people, right? So it's all funny if you look at the world like I do. Which is like politics is a joke. Because we're all like, politics is a joke. Precisely because we're dying out here. We're dying out here, guys. They're doing violence to us. And there seems to be no amount of me pointing that out that seems to do much. And of course, I'm not the only one doing it, right? And it just seems like it's getting worse sometimes. So sometimes you got to look at things and just point and laugh and just joke about it because you know that if you don't do that, you're just going to cry. And then sometimes you cry anyways. Because this shit's fucked up. If you're looking around, if you are able to identify the source of so much unnecessary pain and suffering, then yeah, I'd like to think some people would be like I do and cope the way that I do, which is, laugh to keep yourself from crying because it's just hard. It's just real tough. I'll say that. So, all right. For those new viewers, maybe you're watching a YouTube video, maybe you're new to my chat. That's sort of what I'm doing here. I'm in the back seat of class. I'm in the back row of class here, and I'm just trying to make sense of things, and at the same time have a community and have a space where we can try to have that release valve, right? But at the end of the day, it's about having a material understanding of history. And not just going by aesthetics, not just going by vibes, not just going by, is this guy joking too much? Because, of course, we can be thoughtful as well.
Tribune recorded
Back to the video.
As State Representative Jeff Leach spoke by phone with Lucio to break the news. He was talking to her on death row.
You haven't heard the news yet? No, what happened?
The Court of Criminal Appeals issued a stay of your execution for reinstate.
Are you serious?
Oh my God, dude.
Are you serious? When did this happen?
We just got word about 15 minutes ago.
Oh my God! That is
Hey, Matt.
wonderful.
That's not Matt. Incredible. I'm sorry, I thought that was Matt. I confused your two names. Incredible audio right there. Can you imagine? And I hate to be stun locked here, but I'm going to reply to this. First of all, you know, you're new to my chat and you're trying to like look down on me. You're saying like I'm brainwashed. Fuck, you're very triggered, you know? You can't look down on people if they don't look up to you. You think I'm just going to get upset about some random person in my chat who's pissed off about me, about my politics? That's ridiculous. I've been on the internet a couple days, you know what I mean? And so like that doesn't move me. That's not going to work here. That's like literally kids level shit. So let's try to argue. Let's try to address the point you're making. You actually think Biden is on the same level as Trump as far as being evil-minded, compulsive, liar, authoritarian? You're talking about like vibes, dude. You're literally talking about vibes. You're talking about feelings. And like literally what you're not doing is addressing anything in real life. You're just going by vibes. Now, I'll say it again. That is one of my central critiques of libs. You're just going by vibes. It's not about what is actually going on. You refuse to do the work. You refuse to engage with the content. In this case, a material understanding of history, especially from a class conscious perspective. You refuse to do that. Instead, you're just going by vibes. Now, if you want to try to make good arguments, do that. Otherwise, you're not going to get this weird attention from me anymore. You're going to have to go elsewhere to find it. All right? So do your best with that. That's up to you to like engage with the content, like make an argument that's not just about vibes and your feelings, and like talk about something that is real, tangible. Okay? Have fun with that.
On Monday, members of Melissa Lucio's family gathered at the Gatesville prison north of Austin, where they celebrated news of the reprieve. This is Melissa Lucio's son, John.
It's been 15 long years, you know, and so we say that ourselves, I mean, God forbid, I mean, but if it takes another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it really don't matter. I mean, we're going to hug her regardless, you know, and I mean, it'll be soon because she won't be on death row much longer, and we'll have more likely physical contact.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!
That's Amy Goodman right there. And that was me responding to not only Amy Goodman, but some new folks joining my chat. So I think that Amy and the Doomcracy Now! Crew do a decent job. You take the good with the bad. And in this case, the good is most of the stuff that they're saying, except for like anything having to do with the new Cold War stuff, having to do with Russia and China. And you have to know that while watching it. What am I missing, chat? You got to look at things not just from like how you feel when you jump on Twitter, because there's a whole big world out there. Biden and Trump both are launching coups. They're doing it in the global south, amongst other places. They did one in Ukraine. Some people say they're trying to do one in Russia. They're trying to do some regime change with Putin. They do nothing to help the working class. Arguably, Trump did a better job with COVID than Biden. You could make that argument. Some have. I have. I think it actually is true in some ways. That is not a leap. But But again, looking worldwide, they continue to increase imperialist policies. You know, because of Biden and his State Department, we're like continuing to arm Nazis in Ukraine. That also happened under Trump. What are the biggest material differences that we're trying to address here? Other than your feelings. Libs. Your move. Amy, I think perhaps this is true. Res Publica has been part of the machine long enough to have become subsumed into the machine. I think that's part of it. At this point, I need a break. Okay, so you went back to vibes. You did the thing. You did the thing. You didn't make a material argument. You just literally did the thing again. How do you expect me to like respect you and like take you seriously? So that's like strike 3 from you, man. Manda Laser. I'm gonna give you a ban because I just don't need to see you anymore in my community. You're worthless. Goodbye. Have a good day. No one needs your opinions. You suck. This is what no material class analysis does to a motherfucker. Archetype 0, 100%. That is the perfect first comment in a channel. All right. So, chat, if you're new to my stream, what you may not know is what I was just doing was streaming. But I was also making a YouTube clip. YouTube viewers, if you're watching my clip, you made it to the end of the clip. Thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please support this kind of comment. Join us here in the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/iDanSimpson. You can support on Patreon as well. You'll get early access to all of my videos, all of my leftist and chill interview videos, where I do hard-hitting interviews with leftists. No, I talk with cool people. And you can support the stream. $3, you get early access, and you help me to keep this stream alive. Keep making content. Love your face.